Today's episode is brought to you by FreedomProject Academy. Looking for a K-12 classical online school built on Judeo-Christian values? FPA is enrolling now for the fall. Request your free information packet at freedomforschool.com. That's freedom, F-O-R, school.com.
It's time to get educated on the craziness impacting K-12 classrooms and college campuses around the world. This is the Dr. Duke Show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dr. Duke Show. We have a great program for you today, so hit that share button. Just keep plugging that bad boy and keep us growing. Before we get started, parents, are you as worried as we are about the indoctrination happening in public schools? I have really great news for you. There is a revolutionary transforming education video out there. It's not happening in the classroom, this change. It is called Schoolhouse Rocked. You must see this. Schoolhouse Rocked, the homeschool revolution. It follows one family on their journey to dispel all the myths and misconceptions about homeschooling and uncover the truth about home education. You need to get a copy of this. Please watch it anywhere you can. Sign up for it. Schoolhouse Rocked today on DVD or HD or streaming by visiting schoolhouserocked.com/FP. Today we start at the largest high school in San Diego, California, after administrators have decided to remove several advanced placement classes in the name of equity and inclusion so other students don't feel bad. So you see how that works. You've got kids of all different levels in the San Diego schools. Some kids are gifted by God of all different races. Some kids are gifted by God, gifted by nature, to be ahead, to be outstanding readers and mathematicians and scientists. But you see, their gift shames the other kids in the school. And in the name of helping those kids who aren't outstanding, we're going to punish the outstanding kids by dropping the advanced placement courses so everybody learns at one dull, low level.
This is happening at Patrick Henry High School, and among the classes that they decided to get rid of include, just the main ones that if you had any advanced classes in your school may have included advanced English, advanced history, and advanced biology, because who cares about any of those three things? We know, but you need to be a biologist to know if you're a woman. So if advanced biology, if that's where they were talking or teaching you that, you're no longer going to know what a woman is. And you won't become a Supreme Court justice either. But according to the principal there, Michelle Irwin, she said that they've been giving some of the AP and honors classes the boot without telling the parents about it or seeking any input from them. So that's smart on the school's front. Irwin actually made the cuts for, as we hinted at there, the equity reasons of all things. And she said in an email that she wrote to the parents, adding that she wanted to remove the stigma from non-honors courses and eliminate the racial disparities in the honors enrollment. So it's all about education there at Patrick Henry.
Yeah, and what's really galling to me is they're going to suspend those courses, and they're not going to do one penny's worth of improvement on the other kids' education. Killing this for the high-achieving kids is not going to change one thing in the classroom. There's not going to be one penny more, not one more idea, not one more class being offered to help those kids who aren't achieving. This is just simply punishing the wealthy, the intellectual wealthy. This, my friends, is socialism. It is nothing else but socialism. It is socialism from the top to the bottom. It has no place in our public schools. You're shaming kids who achieve to make unachievers or lower achievers feel better about themselves. Shame on you. You do not, Mrs. Irwin, deserve that position. You should immediately be removed as the school's principal, and you should have set up in some hippie camp somewhere where you're managing tie-dye t-shirts. You have no right to be around children with those attitudes.
Now let's go back to those three courses again, just to remind you. English we can no longer have. If we take from their viewpoint, and they won't probably admit this, obviously, but their viewpoint, English is racist,
yep.
Right? Because black kids have the African American Vernacular English, AAVE, right? So standard advanced English with all those white authors and, I don't know, having those stories told that happened anywhere prior to 2021.
The language
or
that was invented by white people.
There we go. So
there you go.
We cannot have English. Now let's look at the advanced history that they are also eliminating. Well, they're just replacing that. Instead of calling it advanced history, they're just going to call it 1619 project.
There you
I'd assume at this point.
Yep.
Because obviously everything in history is all about white supremacy. And everything is about slavery, and that's all the history that exists. That's it. And again, I already hinted at the advanced biology, and biology doesn't matter, right? Except when we say it matters, but which is to say not for an advanced biology class. Then it doesn't matter. That's why then we have to get rid of the biology for if it's going to actually talk about biology being like science and actually like going with what science says, so we can't have that. So we're going to eliminate that.
We've already retarded science, right? So we retarded it that you're not allowed to say boys and girls exist. We've retarded science so you can no longer believe what science tells you. So the idea that we're going to teach you advanced science where you get more of that white supremacy, no thank you. This is one of the most shockingly and anti-educational things you're ever going to see. And the way they cover this up as concern for all that trauma. May I also remind you of what C.S. Lewis said? The reason Lewis said we would do this, we would force kids who were capable of reading Dante and Aeschylus to be chained to their peers, kids struggling to read A Cat Sat on a Mat. You know why you say they would do this? Literally? Because those kids would get a trauma. Those dumb kids would get a trauma allowing high-achieving kids to achieve. And what did Mrs. Irwin just say? I want to take away the trauma of high achievers who really don't belong in this school, making poor achievers feel bad about themselves.
And it's not just the principal, it's one of the school board trustees and pretty much all the school board who said this is an okay thing to do. We're talking about Richard Barrera, who actually told the local newspaper that the district isn't taking anything away from the students. No. We're taking away those classes, but no, we're not really taking anything away. We believe in expanding access to opportunities for all of our students, and when we expand access, that doesn't mean that we're taking anything away from students who have already had access to those opportunities. I understand parents are worried about that, and when they hear we're making a change from decades of existing stratification, and if your students are part of the higher stratification, of course you're going to be concerned about that, but that's not what we're doing.
With all the censorship taking place on social media platforms, we've made it easy to keep up with your favorite content. Simply download the Freedom Project Media app in your app store. Get access to 18 new videos a week, plus thousands of archived shows, lecture series, and educational animations. Download the Freedom Project Media app on your Apple TV, Roku, tablet, or phone, and make sure you allow for notifications to keep you informed.
Well, I don't know if Colorado's just looking to get more money or they really just are that awful. But either way, they're looking to fine schools $25,000 per month for every month that they decide to continue having an Indian mascot. So for about a year now, the Colorado Commission of Indian Affairs has been working to strip all of the schools across the entire state of Indian mascot names. Now, the commission is charged with enforcing Senate Bill 116, which states the presence and use of derogatory American Indian mascots across Colorado creates an unsafe learning environment for American Indian students by having serious negative impacts on those students' mental health and by promoting bullying of American Indian students. Now, the bill became law last year, and it gave schools now till June 1st to eliminate the American Indian mascots or face these $25,000 per month fines. And the law had explained what the definition of a mascot actually is, so that schools could then, I guess, select a mascot that is worthy of being in Colorado. And they said American Indian mascot means a name, symbol, or image that depicts or refers to an American Indian tribe, individual, custom, or tradition that is used as a mascot, nickname, logo, letterhead, or team name for the school. And right now, we have 12 schools on the list that need to be changed. 12 of them, 1 dozen. And this was just last updated in March, and so maybe over the past month here, they have been working on it. But there are quarterly meetings, and the next quarterly meeting is in May. And so basically schools have, from now until then, 1 month to get their act together or start facing the penalty. And if any of these schools are added, you have less than basically 2 weeks then, because to get onto the agenda, get it all together then before the deadline with the May and the June and all that timing. You have about 2 weeks to get all imagery of your mascot, like, out of the school, off of everything. It's unclear whether they could be removed from what's happening, then going post, and so it's very confusing. Even if you're one of those 12 schools on the list and you're even trying to get off, you still may be starting to be fined $25,000.
What is absolutely clear is that they're not going to give your community time to discuss this, to have a vote, to let the people decide. That's not going to happen. You're going to do it, or else we're going to punish you, because we, the white men at the school administration board, right? We, the pale face in charge, we're going to make sure. And here's the other thing that's troublesome. Why don't we just go ahead and take the next step, right? So what you're doing, again, in the name of inclusion, is you are stripping any Native American imagery whatsoever from being part of the teams, right? Because it can only be negative. I know myself. Whenever I want to get on a team, or I have to give myself a name or participate with groups of peoples, when we're playing games, you always give yourself a hateful name, right? You always pick the most hateful name. So what we're trying to do here with these Native Americans is not honor them, not give a nod to their culture. It's just to mock them. Yeah, that's all we do, right? That's why we do it. We hate Native Americans so much that rather than pick neutral names, we're going to honor them by dishonoring them. It's stupid. But number two, go all the way. Native Americans did not agree to states being carved out of their land. When we created states like Ohio and Illinois and Colorado, and we gave them Native American names, you forced Native American culture by naming the states after Indian names. You forced Native culture to participate in the destroying of Native Americans. We must immediately change every single state's name to honor Indians by removing Indian words stolen from them. How about it right now? $25,000 a day, Colorado, until you change your name.
That's a lot of money. That'd be a lot of money.
They make it from pot money back anyway.
Okay, well, yeah. One example from the 12 that are included still on this list is Montrose School District, which actually made their case to the board back in January that the Johnson Elementary School Thunderbirds mascot was a cross-cultural mythical bird, a thunderbird. They're still on the list. Now, the school had modernized the imagery of the mascot to ensure it did not use Native American iconography. The board made no comment after the January meeting. They made no comment in March. And so this school is still on the list, and they don't know why they are still on this list.
I would immediately say that the name Thunderbirds was named after the 1980s band. Ain't that tough enough? Remember the fabulous Thunderbirds? I remember them.
Now, the district also changed the Montrose High School from being the Indians to Red Hawk, but the commission kept them on the list as well. And the district gave a release that said, "We have no idea how or why the commissioners would find the Montrose High School Red Hawk an inappropriate or offensive alternative." But now the district, because of all this, has budgeted $375,000 to have
Change
to pay
it again
for all the changes that are associated with all these new mascots at the various schools.
Today's show is sponsored by our friends at MyPillow. Save up to 66% on all items at MyPillow.com when you use the code Dr. Duke. That's DRDUKE. Support this show by supporting a great American company.
Now, way back in 2019, before the world completely fell apart, we reported on Oberlin College in Ohio. It's a private liberal arts college in Oberlin, Ohio. And they decided that we're just going to go beyond the walls of being a college to harassing and ruining the lives of the people who own the bakery shop just down the way, just right next to the college. We're talking about Gibsons Bakery, and they claimed that they were racist, and the Five Generation Bakery was accused of being racist because of a black Oberlin student who shoplifted from the bakery, and then he and other students actually got into a scuffle with the clerk, who is Alan D. Gibson, who's the grandson as part of that 5 generations. And that actually happened back in 2016, November of 2016, which is just 2 days after Donald Trump was elected president. And all this happened, and there's more to talk about, but let's get the breakdown of the story.
Gibsons grew out of the 1800s right alongside Oberlin College, the family's homemade treats satisfying college dignitaries. The relationship soured in 2016 when a shoplifter, a black Oberlin student, tangled with a Gibson.
It took us generations to build this business, and in a matter of a couple days, it was destroyed.
This was 2 days after Donald Trump's election, and like the country, Oberlin grew divided, emotions spiraling. College administrators, they say, egged on students and canceled its contracts with Gibsons. But the charges of racism hurt the most.
We were devastated by that. It was the furthest thing from the truth. My employees were frightened.
Retired Professor Bob Pyron, a loyal customer since the 60s, witnessed the protests.
I was disgusted. I've known the family forever. This was the nastiest thing.
The elder Gibson urged the fight in a courtroom to save the Gibson name.
Anytime the name come up, be called a racist and so forth. You know, that really scares me.
That fight ended with a verdict heard across the country: $44 million.
Well, I would make one correction on that video. The narrator actually said that after Donald Trump was elected, the far left liberal arts college, that's when the relationship changed. No. Oberlin has been a status symbol liberal arts country, and I mean liberal, radical progressive school for about 40 years now. So let's not pretend that Donald Trump did it. It's not what happened. But justice was done. I mean, and the funny thing about this is that after the African-American kids who did steal from them were caught and punished, they even admitted to the police officers that this was their fault, that there was no racism involved. We were caught red-handed. The kids tried to do the right thing. And when they did that, the black kids, the school administrators, a lot of white people decided, no. You never apologize to the white people. You never let them arrest you for stealing. Think about what's going on in America's public malls, right? All this shoplifting at the Walgreens, everybody standing there and watching people loading up and leaving. That was the attitude of Oberlin, and a judge, and now on appeal too, that money was upheld for Oberlin to pay. They haven't started paying yet. Start paying what you owe them, Oberlin, because you brought this on yourself.
So knowing that this happened in 2016, then it was 2019, why, again, are we talking about in 2022? As you mentioned, the appeal. So what happened, what we thought was it ended in a $44 million award being given to Gibsons Bakery, with $33.2 million being in punitive damages. Now, it was later reduced at that time to $25 million because Ohio law. But the court documents had showed that Oberlin College officials had used the university funds that they had to purchase food and cold weather gear for student demonstrators, and the college was suspended purchasing of baked goods from Gibsons as the students had demanded. And so, according to the bakery, the dean of students at the time had distributed flyers outside the store that don't buy and all that. So you could see why, yes, Oberlin College is at fault here for why that led to the $44 million lawsuit. But Oberlin still decided they wanted to appeal, even though all the evidence was against them, but they're, going to appeal, so they did, and now it's taken these 2 years here. Again, well, more than that if you go all the way back to 2016 when it originally started, but the court system, it took them all the way till now, and the appeal by Oberlin has failed, and so it's upheld the $25 million judgment, and there's an additional $6.2 million for just the payment in attorney fees. So Oberlin has lost again, and of course, they will not apologize. They can't stop, won't stop. So they have not apologized. And it's a little bittersweet because as you watch that clip, you had seen the great-grandfather essentially, and then the grandfather, I guess in the ages going now. Both those gentlemen have passed since this entire thing has started. So they're looking down and saying, yay, the Gibson name will not be associated with racism, hopefully, anymore. But at least the family gets something here.
Hi everyone, I'm David Fiorazzo. Before we go, let's take a little time to fill you in on a few stories we've been talking about around the office. And let's start with the famed Shakespeare quote, "What's in a name?" Or rather, what's the cost of a name? Well, if we're talking about baby names, how does $10,000 sound? That's right. A woman by the name of Taylor Humphrey has actually been paid upwards of $10,000 by rich elites to name their newborn baby. In 2020, Taylor raked in more than $150,000 for her baby naming services. Take a look.
Here are my top suggestions for a little brother to Emmett and Miller. I would say Emmett, Miller, and Grady, Wilson, Waylon, Fletcher, Langston, or Harvey. In the world of baby naming, we typically find that names become popular again after about 100 years. And sure enough, in 1922, both Emmett and Miller were used. The names that I've suggested here, I'm kind of trying to evoke a ritzy Art Deco 1920s revival.
Now, depending on how much expectant parents pay, Taylor's services range from a phone call and name list to a genealogical investigation with the aim of unearthing old family names. And no, Taylor does not have any kids of her own at this time. So guys, Duke, Katie, what do you think of this new hustle? Is this for you? Maybe Duke can give advice on pet names.
I got a name I'd like to call her, but I don't think it would make the air.
Just go to the library or go to Goodwill and get the book that has every baby name in it. And if this is like my free service to you, flip through it, land on one, and there you go.
Are we really
same difference?
Are we that lazy that we can't name our own kids? Is that where we are?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a reflection on our country, sadly. But let's move on to another sweet story. Sweet, I don't know. One of America's largest donut companies. Okay, I like this one. They're offering a special treat when it comes to pain at the pump. Krispy Kreme is offering customers the opportunity to score a dozen glazed donuts for the national average price of a gallon of gas. Now, the deal runs through May 4th, and donut lovers can order up to 24 donuts at the national price of a gallon of gas. All right, we're going to get more from Duke and Katie now, because we are now going to hear some Babylon Bee headlines and titles. Now, these are, let's see which one takes the top prize. Let me just read them for you. Number one, senile old man spotted with a gun spouting wild demands on White House grounds. Number two, AOC drafts legislation opposing ghost guns. Ghosts don't even need guns since they're dead already. Number three, pigeon that pooped on Biden to speak at CPAC. Number four, smart. Man imports Chinese version of film so he doesn't have to see all the LGBTQ stuff. And finally, after being denied tattoo, sixth grader decides to have gender reassignment surgery instead. Duke and Katie, I think this is the toughest one we've had so far. What do you think? What's the best?
I think those were so spot on from everything that has happened this past week and a half or whatnot. And I personally like the very first one because I reported on that with senile man with the gun on White House grounds. And yeah, I guess if all it takes to speak at CPAC is pooping on someone, there are probably a lot of contenders out there to speak at CPAC.
Those are my two as well, because when I thought of the old creepy old man on the White House grounds with a gun ranting and raving, I thought to myself, who gave Biden a gun? And we were talking about the one thing that would have made the other one better, the CPAC one. CPAC is bird poop, right? Bird poop should have been at C crap instead of CPAC. It would have been perfect.
Okay. I wish we had more time, but that's going to wrap it up for this week. More next time.
All right, as we wrap things up, let's show some love to our Patriot Club members. And today we're giving our special shout out to Dawn from New Lebanon, Ohio. Dawn, thank you for supporting us.
Don't go away, I'm no good for you. And that wraps up this show. For all of us at Freedom Project, stay educated, my friends, or Frankie Valli will find you and make you.